Central Park. It's freezing today, very cold. But I wanted to come out and do another test here. People might remember that I've been talking about this, failover system, try to increase the resistance to radio interference. It's difficult to do, it's difficult to test. We'll see if this works. If it does, nobody should notice anything. When I was walking over here, there was a big police sign, one of those LED signs that said, "Fake plates, real fines." I didn't know that was such a big problem, fake license plates on cars. But it made me think about that incident at the Walcott Hotel, remember, where those Tren de Aragua guys who were trying to kind of pass out that baby, traffic her or whatever, seemed to be in a car that had Florida tags on it, dealer plates, just a paper fake license plate, it seemed. And it occurred to me, how could they get that car from Florida to New York and just have it look spotless? My car always needs to go to the car wash after a big trip like that. Oh, wow, what a view up here. Isn't this nice? So this is a totally new approach to this problem. Got a new system here. One of the things now is 5 times zoom. Look at that. Do we have any ducks? Looks like we do. Oh, there's a lot of ducks. Let's see if we can see the ducks. Look at that. So this is your sponsorship money at work here. Wow. Quite a lot of zoom capability there. Big thanks to everybody who's been sponsoring the show on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. The thing I want to talk about today is this question of, will Donald Trump actually stamp out lawfare? I know he wants to, but we've got a lot of resistance to Donald Trump. We saw that. I don't know if people got a chance to watch the confirmation hearings. I was watching the Pam Bondi confirmation hearing. She did really well. I don't know that much about Pam Bondi, but she seems very smart and capable for that job. I liked it that when idiots like Adam Schiff and what's her name, Hirono, were like, "Oh, can't you admit that Donald Trump lost and there was no cheating?" And she was just like, "Look, no." So we'll see. I mean, I hope Donald Trump will be the anti-lawfare president. We need some judges impeached, and we really need new laws. Lawfare should be illegal. It's got to be defined and recognized by courts, and it should be, heavy sanctions if you are engaging in lawfare tactics. I mean, it's got to be really specified, kind of, delineated from just simple vexatious litigation, which could be just an annoying and stupid person doing annoying and stupid lawsuits. What I'm talking about are well-resourced, experienced, and skilled practitioners who deliberately do this stuff to try to achieve political or military goals. That's what Charles Dunlop says lawfare is. Look at this ice. Ice, ice, baby. You don't want to be freezing in this water right now. It's interesting how it looks like shattered glass on the shores of the paddle boat Central Park Pond here. It's very cold. So, I mean, again, testing this system, I'll have to go back down to the courthouse and walk by that spot where we know it disconnects. So, right, somebody was asking me some technical questions about the system here. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I don't really want to talk about that for a couple of reasons. I know there are, well-meaning people who would benefit from me explaining it and everything like that. But the problem is it would give too much information to the enemies who want to thwart me, specifically the worm pictured in this image here today. He's got a lot of associates and jackasses who he works with. Also, remember, I did try to do that one time pretty recently with Manny. Helped him. He even said it many times in his videos that he was inspired by watching this to go and try to do the same thing. And ultimately, in the end, wound up, I don't think he was exactly who he presented himself to be, and it just wound up being more of a harm to me than a help to anybody. This is great that there's now 5x zoom. That'll be cool. Oh, it's so freezing. Yeah, so anyway, we'll just keep walking around with this thing. It's introduced a lot of capabilities and features that should hopefully make live streaming more reliable around the country. I'm going to be doing some more traveling, I hope, pretty soon. I've mentioned I'm trying to leave New York, and it's freezing in New York right now. Today, of course. Yeah, I think, it seems pretty clear that Pam Bondi is going to get, certified or whatever it is, confirmed by the Senate there. That'll be good. I hope that she goes after Jack Smith. I mean, by the way, how is that not suspicious that all these people are resigning and he's trying to get his stupid report out? It's funny. I mean, these guys behave really in the exact same way George's brother does. That's not a coincidence. It's because I think they're aligned. And I don't just say that. Felix Sater, we now have heard from Donald Trump in a deposition that Jared Beck did in 2013. Trump said that Felix Sater had been around, when asked by Jared Beck, would you say 10 years? Trump said even longer, maybe as far back as 2000. So that means 25 years ago, Felix Sater starts contacting Donald Trump. And remember, 1998, 27 years ago, Felix Sater signed that cooperation agreement with Andrew Weissman, who just happens to be the lead investigator for Robert Mueller. Coincidence? Perhaps. I don't think so, though. I think all these guys are connected. And so Jared Beck is asking Trump all about Felix Sater, and then Felix Sater is represented by Jonathan Snyder in the city of Almaty, Kazakhstan versus Felix Sater, where that guy Kenes Rakishev, he is the director of the bank. All these guys know each other and are like intertwined in what they're doing. That just seems so suspicious to me. I mean, is that really a coincidence? Or are they all... Of course, I'm signed out of everything here. I'm trying to check something, but I guess we'll just have to do that later. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you totally reconfigure a complicated system. It takes a little while to get everything back to the way it's normally set up. But what I'm getting at is it seems like this Russiagate hoax, I've said it many times, but I know it's complicated, so I'll lay it out again. It seems like when I just decided to get into independent journalism and live streaming on the internet, all this stuff was already underway. And a lot of people know that I started doing shows with George Webb, saw him on YouTube. He came up, I guess, because of the algorithm, and certainly when you know what that algorithm is trying to do, you can do things to get it to work in your favor. I mean, if I had started a show about baking, I probably would have been introduced to other people, maybe who weren't so closely associated with the FBI. And why do I say George is closely associated with the FBI? Well, he told us that he first got into journalism as a result of that Portland Christmas tree bombing story and something to do with Andrew McCabe. Now that story has to do with a guy named Mohammed. Not kidding, that's the name that we're told. And that he was supposedly, some kind of terrorist preparing to bomb the city of Portland's Christmas tree lighting ceremony. But the controversy surrounding that seems to indicate that there's a strong possibility that Mohammed was set up by the FBI, that he's kind of either mentally, I don't know if he's mentally disabled, but it's sort of widely reported that he's not that smart and that he was preyed upon by the FBI, that they, gave him these supplies, taught him how to make bombs, maybe paid for his car, told him where to go and stuff like that. Anyway, people think he was set up by the FBI, and this all was happening around 2010 or so. And it really concerned the integration of the JTTF, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, in the Portland police. So this is an important issue. The FBI wants to expand its power and capability by basically creating a law enforcement network where it becomes embedded, maybe not in all, but certainly in a large number, particularly in significant municipalities. The FBI becomes substantially embedded in or retains some kind of control over the local police. I think citizens are concerned about this, rightly, because it's an expansion of FBI power, and we know that the FBI, they don't really like the Constitution. They just want to do whatever they can to, air quotes, catch criminals. And whoever they decide is a criminal, whether that's going to a PTA meeting or some Latin mass or, questioning the authority of the FBI, they're just going to say, oh, well, you're a domestic terrorist. And so now, we're going to do FBI stuff to you. We're going to investigate you and, tap your phones and listen to all your conversations and look at your DMs. Or like in the case of Jack Smith, they went to Twitter and said, give us all of Trump's messages, and you can't tell Trump. I don't know if people remember that detail. Elon Musk was kind of, I guess, pissed off about that. But also the FBI was controlling Twitter. The FBI does a lot of stuff that I think people should be quite concerned about. And that's what was going on with this Mohammed Portland Christmas tree bomber story. And I didn't know this for many, many years, but Valerie Caproni was directly involved in that. For people who are maybe new to Crowdsource the Truth, is this Elon Musk? Valerie Caproni, oh, maybe that's Elon Musk. Valerie Caproni is the judge in several cases that have involved me. The first time I ever heard about Valerie Caproni was when George's fucking asshole, mentally ill, wife-swapping paperclip Nazi brother tried to sue me. Well, he did sue me. First, he sued me in South Carolina because that's where their stupid frame Jason plot, that's where it originated, right? And just like people feel like the FBI tried to get people around this Mohammed guy and set him up, frame him for a crime that they could then say, oh, look how tough and smart we are at the FBI. We caught this criminal. Give us more billions of dollars to fight more crimes. I allege that that's what they were trying to do with me. They were trying to say, oh, look at this. We have people spreading disinformation on social media like Jason, and to get clicks And to build up his YouTube channel, he staged a bomb hoax. So now he needs to be charged with staging a bomb hoax and taken off of the internet, put him in jail, and let's get an information governance board, and let's have licenses for journalists, and make disinformation some topic that people actually discuss. This is what they were trying to do, but it failed because George and his brother are goddamn idiots. Partially that's the reason. Other reasons that it failed, but they failed. They failed to adequately frame me, and so I became this loose end who's been walking around for 8 years since then, exposing all the different people in this conspiracy who tried to frame me. I apologize for the wind, but this new setup was unhappy with the audio mixer. We're going to have to play with a couple of things to figure out how to get that resolved. But it didn't work, and I became a loose end, and so they've done various things to try to shut me up. One of the things they did was this lawsuit from the Emmys. Now, people might say, what? Why did you get sued by the Emmys? It's really a very strange story, but the CEO of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Adam Sharp, is actually a pivotal member of this conspiracy. This is weird. We have bags of ice just sitting here. It's definitely cold enough to keep ice frozen outside today, but why would you have all that ice just sitting outside? Yeah, Adam Sharp. He's the president and CEO of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, and it seems that just through a coincidental happenstance that they felt was lucky for them, which was specifically me creating a graphic for a John Cullen Investigates episode called the Crony Awards, where I made a parody that involved the Emmys statuette. Parody is First Amendment protected speech, but of course, as I said, these criminals dressed in robes and FBI outfits, they hate the First Amendment, they hate the Constitution, they just want to do whatever they want to do and harm and manipulate people to get to their end so they can say whatever they want. Like Adam Schiff, all those people, they speak the language of lawfare, trying to get you to say that, there was no cheating or whatever. The reason why they focus on that, people get annoyed by it, that's your subconscious telling you that something is wrong. But just to sort of explain it on a little bit more of a, kind of an academic level, intellectually rather than emotionally, that's the language of lawfare. They want you to say that so that they can always refer back to that statement. They like to stipulate facts. I always talk about stipulating reality. These are the stipulated facts, the agreed upon facts. Forget about what actually happened. Let's stipulate what happened, and then we'll call that the facts. This is how lawyers think. This is how they operate. So that's what Adam Schiff was trying to do with Pam Bondi yesterday, and that's why she wisely would not play his game. She's a lawyer, he's a lawyer. They're always trying to manipulate people, those lawyers in Congress. It's disgusting and disgraceful. So we're going to walk right through Times Square because I want to go to the most radio polluted areas and see how this system behaves. I don't know, it could still be susceptible. I hope not, though. I really am employing kind of all the technology that I'm aware of to prevent that bad stuff from happening. We'll see if it works. So, see, like with me, doesn't matter what actually happened. They wanted to get me to call. That's why George was so, driving hard to the hoop. Is that a Raptor R? I don't think so. It looks like an older one. Is that Hunter Biden's Raptor? Yeah, it doesn't have the bulge. The Raptor R has a giant, I think like a 3-liter supercharger. But they want that key evidence, right? They want me on the phone telling the Coast Guard, hey, there's a dirty bomb. If I had said that, they would have taken that statement and they would have stipulated this reality that Jason created a dirty bomb hoax. Even though George called me and told me this radioactive material was on the boat. George called me and told me it was on the boat. He insisted that I should go and call the Coast Guard. I guess on some level it just didn't make sense to me, because if it was obviously a serious emergency, well, why wouldn't George just call them? Why would he spend all this time trying to get me to call them? We still have a dancing Santa there. That's very good. But that's what they were trying to do. He was trying to manipulate me, I suppose, in the same way that FBI people might have manipulated Mohammed. We've seen similar manipulation, or allegations of similar manipulation, with Adam Dean Fox. I'm glad to know that Ken Silva has been covering that Adam Dean Fox story. That's the Fed napping, the, what's her name? Whitmer? Kristen Whitmer, is it? Gretchen Whitmer? They say that those guys were trying to kidnap her. I don't understand how they ultimately nailed that guy. I thought his lawyer did a great job. I admittedly didn't follow all of that, but I did read the cross-examination of, I think his name is Christopher Long, the FBI special agent who was talking about the use of UCOs, undercover operatives, undercover operations, UCAs, UCOs, all these different FBI specific terms. I'm talking about people like George Webb, who pretend to be journalists, or pretend to be militia members, or pretend to be, Trump supporters on January 6th. Any of these guys who go undercover to deceive people. I think this was a weed place, Dragon's Den. We were speaking with Sal Greco yesterday about Sheriff Miranda is in a lot of trouble now. A judge decided that it was illegal how they stole all the weed from the weed stores. That was pretty clear. Here's this place using a Nazi ruin as their logo. That's really weird. I don't know what that place is about. Maybe they don't know. But that is a Nazi symbol. Yeah, so I became a loose end, and I believe that is why they've been suing me ever since then, to push me out of this op. Just like when I show up at the park and the police are doing whatever with all of their undercover people, whether they're Chinese or Israeli or Vietnamese. Have you noticed that? Most of them are not Americans. Yeah, that makes sense that you could turn people from other countries against American citizens more easily than you could turn Americans against American citizens. Huh. Well, but anyway, they just don't want me there. And I was talking to Sal about that as well. Sal has said many times that it doesn't make sense to him how Oren Levi just came right up to me. I think that's something we should pay attention to, because Sal has known that guy and known about that guy for a while. And if he just finds it weird that he walks right up to me, that's not what he normally does. But he came right up to me. And I am almost sure that he must have been using Clearview AI, because Jessica Tisch seems to have been all over that. We got an interesting piece of information from Sal yesterday, that he said that Jessica Tisch was somehow aligned with Ray Kelly. And see, it's funny, because Sal started by saying that he liked Ray Kelly when he was in the cops. I mean, that's the thing. Nobody is joining the cops or the army or the government or anything like that. You would think nobody is. I guess most people aren't joining those things thinking, ooh, yeah, this is a filthy, corrupt organization. Let me get in there. I think most people, particularly when you meet them and it's somebody like Sal, who seems like an honest and nice guy, I don't think people like that are joining things like the cops because they expect it to be corrupt, particularly considering he got kicked out. this is stupid as hell, but I want to see this. I hate Broadway shows, but I love Back to the Future. So I think what happens is you get in there, and remember, see, at first, he was saying like, oh, JTTF was this great thing. This is this wonderful unit that everybody wanted to be on. But now that I've put the idea in his head, what are you doing? Riding a bicycle right at me. All these people, see there? This guy's from another country, he doesn't care. They just want to take things from us. You know, get the cops to arrest you, take the money. I don't know. But anyway, you join something like that and then you become disillusioned when you realize how corrupt it is. But so see, I have planted the idea in his head that the JTTF is not a good thing. And I felt like Sal was speaking about it slightly differently yesterday. Maybe he's been thinking about what I said and maybe it kind of clicked. And he said, you know what, maybe that is correct. That the JTTF, I mean, look, obviously if you're a cop and your first presumption is, oh, that's a fancy unit where people get bonuses and overtime and better equipment and only the best police officers are going into it, maybe you have a positive view of it. But then now when you start to learn more things about it, and I say, well, it's unconstitutional, the merger of the FBI and the local police, and also there are several instances of the JTTF being accused by the cops that they're trying to co-opt of being unconstitutional. That was why the Portland police did not want to get down with the JTTF, because this memorandum of understanding that the FBI forces the police to sign, according to the Portland police, and I think San Francisco police as well. Oh, look, that Sparrow's is closed. According to those guys, it was asking them to do unconstitutional things like spy on people for religious reasons and political reasons, all the stuff that we've been hearing about in Congress lately. Interesting, isn't it? That seems to be coming from the JTTF. And Valerie Caproni was involved. So like I was beginning to say, the first time I heard about Valerie Caproni was when George's mentally ill, wife-swapping, paperclip Nazi asshole of a brother first sued me in South Carolina. And then that got kicked out of South Carolina because they said, well, you know, neither of these movements live in South Carolina, and since the defendant is in New York, it's better suited to go to New York. I don't know if that's the real reason, or maybe something got screwed up and they wanted it to land in front of Valerie Caproni because that is who it landed in front of. Now, I didn't really think anything of that because I had never heard of Valerie Caproni, didn't know anything about Valerie Caproni at the time, and I just presumed, hey, whatever, we got a judge. Now, looking her up, you're going to find out pretty close to right away that she was the FBI general counsel. But, I mean, again, that was just sort of like, oh, all right. I mean, I guess, you know, judges in general are going to have sort of like impressive resumes, if that's impressive, or I don't know what to call that, but you know what I mean. Judges are going to be your most experienced kind of legal people, you would think. So I didn't think too much of it at the time. I didn't know all these other connections with Valerie Caproni. But as time went on and weirder things began to happen, like I just thought the judge was being unfair to me for whatever reason. But anyway, the next thing that happened was when that parody image of the Emmys got created, I was sued by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. And that also landed in front of Judge Caproni. This is where it starts to become too coincidental to be a coincidence. Because after I got roped into that case, which we won't go into all the details about now because it's too complicated, but after I got roped into that thing and was forced to hire an attorney, Jonathan Snyder, recommended to me by Jared Beck, the same guy who deposed Donald Trump, all about Felix Sater, See, those guys didn't tell me that Jared Beck had deposed Donald Trump and represented some real estate company or some investment company that had something to do with Felix Sater, and that Snyder was now representing Sater, and that there seems to be some sort of connection there. They didn't mention that. No, they just got me into the case. Get out of here. They just got me into the case, drained me of all my money, which I allege was used to finance Felix Sater's defense, because then, years later, Snyder moves to withdraw, saying Sater has no money to pay. So this seems like another Lawfare trick. Find some sap like me, get me to pay Snyder. Now Snyder has a paying client, and he agrees to, sandbag my case and then carry on with Sater. Look, we got more out-of-business stores here in Times Square. See, I like it when it's cold because the maniacs hate the cold. Wow, that's a really good Transformers costume. Skinny legs, though. Seems like you could break your knees wearing that. It's a good costume. Spider-Man with a winter coat. Yeah, so that case also got in front of Judge Caproni, and she just did so many things that were violative of my rights, violating the canons of judicial conduct, same kind of stuff as Juan Merchan and Burl Howell. It's notable that Burl Howell was also in the Eastern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office when Caproni was there, just like Andrew Weissman. And remember, Weissman lies about knowing Felix Sater. When I asked him at that NYU law lecture, he says, I don't know Felix Sater. And he goes on to even joke about it nervously. I didn't see that part because I left the room. I didn't see that part until more than a year later. But the researcher on X found the podcast video, the video that was recorded by, whoever makes Andrew Weissman's podcast. It shows a few moments after I leave where they're joking about freedom of speech. Like he says, oh, well, haha, that's freedom of speech. People can say whatever they want. But that wasn't me saying whatever I wanted. That was me asking him a pointed question about him doing illegal stuff. Are you a cop?
Yes.
Ah. What do you think about Eric Adams and all the corruption? It is. So anyway, he's lying about knowing Felix Sater because Felix Sater seems to be a linchpin in all of this. I believe Felix Sater has been spying on and doing things to Trump along the same lines of the types of things that George Webb was trying to do to me when we were, working together. Right? He poses as a friend, an ally, a business associate. In Trump's case, Felix Sater is going to bring you real estate deals or financing or licensing for condo buildings or whatever. Somebody contacts you and says, hey, I have Russian investors who want to build a condo building. I'm not saying you don't look into that at all, but you're looking into it from the standpoint of, does this guy have the money to pay? Not necessarily, running down every... First of all, the agreement was secret. You would have never seen the 1998 secret agreement with the FBI and the DOJ until 2019. Trump has to know about this by now, I would think. I mean, he's got to have people scouring X, just looking at the stuff that everybody's been talking about. But anyway, it all seems to be a big game to protect Felix Sater, who essentially a Clinton guy. But, Charles has pointed this out, that there's these rivalries, right? And it's obvious. It always happens in the mob movies that, the big pussy becomes an informant, and now the Sopranos, they got to take him out on a boat and whack him. Stuff like that. There's warring factions, it's not two sides. That's why I get annoyed when people are like, oh, this or that person is on our side. Ivan Raiklin is not on my side. George Webb is not on my side. In fact, these guys are evil. You know, they're doing things to try to get innocent people, me and others, put in jail, you know, lose all their money. They've already done damage to me that will never be undone. It's offset by the fact that surviving all that has taught me things and changed my approach to things that I think overall makes me stronger. So I'm better for all this crap that they've done. And I'm not done yet. I'm going to get them thrown in jail. I'm going to get Valerie Caproni impeached. And I'm going to get my rights restored and my money back. It might take a long time, but I'm going to do it. Here's Bill Maher. He's getting sued by Laura. That's pretty cool. I hope she wins. Bill Maher, he's being a jerk. Now wait a minute. So will these weed stores reopen now? I'm sure the people who had their weed and money stolen, I don't know, is that a licensed one? Yeah, it says, please remove ski masks and hoods. Yeah, obviously, everybody should have to do that. Remove the ski masks and the hoods. Yeah, so this bizarre coincidence of Caproni getting assigned that case. Then remember, we had the whole business going on in Michigan. I'm not really sure why they initiated a case in Michigan, unless it was specifically because that Judge Gershwin Drain, you know, there might be a limited number of totally corrupt judges that they can select from. And when they line one up, it's like, okay, figure out a way to bring a case over here. But anyway, George, or in George's name, I'm pretty convinced it was his brother doing the writing. But they brought that case. And remember, there was going to... See, the reason why I don't think they selected Michigan to get to Drain is because when I first brought it to Drain's attention with an amicus brief that there was a fraudulent filing, a forged document filed on the docket, he called for a hearing. He would not have done that if he was read into the program from the beginning, I don't think. It was only after I went to Michigan to attend the hearing, you know, drove 10 or 12 hours or whatever that was, got there the day before the hearing, and then they canceled it. Very last minute and without explanation. Highly unusual in my experience. But to me, see, that seems much more to indicate that they were freaking out. Like, you know, Jason figured out what we did. Somebody contact Drain and tell him to cancel this hearing before it's too late. And maybe some sort of cryptic message got sent saying, hey, cancel that hearing, which he did. But it left, again, another loose end, which was this evidence of the forged PDF. See, this was a weed store. Now it says closed, do not enter. And it's a notice from the sheriff, not the NYPD. So that's what we were talking about with Sal yesterday. The sheriff just went around and figured, hey, these are quasi-criminal operations. Let's just shut them down. They're not going to be able to sue us or anything. I don't know. That's a brand of lawfare in and of itself. We've got just rogue criminals running all this stuff. The sheriff's office, the NYPD, the courts. So it seems like somebody sent a short, quick, kill that hearing message to Drain, but they didn't sufficiently convey to him that he needs to actually adjudicate this matter and come to a conclusion about the evidence that I've raised, because he just threw it out. And then George's brother brought another case back in Michigan, got right in front of the same judge. Doesn't seem like the type of thing you would do if you had filed a forged document in court. It's a felony in Michigan, 14-year prison sentence if you're convicted of that. Don't you think if you were dumb enough to attempt such a thing and lucky enough to not get thrown in jail after somebody figured the whole thing out, don't you think you'd never want to go back to that court or speak to that judge again? Why did George's idiot brother bring that case back so many times? Well, the only reason I can think of would be that Drain now knew more details, and they wanted Drain to say, no, Jason is wrong. We're going to stipulate that this is not a forged document. Forget about all the evidence. I'm going to say, no, I disagree, and I'm the judge. So I have the final say, and I have inordinate power bestowed in me by the Constitution, which I loathe. And he could have said it's not a forged document. Then what would happen is I can never raise that evidence again. The doctrine of res judicata. This thing has already been decided. You can't keep relitigating it. They're worried. That's a thorny loose end for them. This is the OG illegal weed store. Remember all the trucks back in the day? He wanted to rely on the doctrine of res judicata, that this thing has already been decided and Jason can't bring it back. But that hasn't happened yet. We haven't had an opportunity to put George's brother on trial for the filing of a forged document. Also, that asshole Richard Lurie, even a federal clerk working in the court, has a lot of protection just from the procedural, the way you have to go about holding that guy accountable. One time when I got close, he wrote a letter or filed a motion or said something about how, because this was all done in the course of his duty as a federal clerk, you can't sue him, you have to... I forget exactly what he said, but, these people know all the complicated rules that perhaps we don't know. And they're using them to conduct lawfare. So what we need to do now is go through this whole thing with a deep understanding of what's been done and shore up all the holes, plug the holes that allow these guys to do this sort of stuff, to make it much more difficult to do. Obviously, there's no way to make anything totally secure. And it makes a lot of sense that George's brother does this. He's a professional hacker. He's written that ethical hackers field guide to doing whatever. I guess his ethics are open to subjective interpretation, but you can hack anything. He's hacking the courts. And that's, not to say that he hacked specifically a server or something at the courts. Social engineering is a form of hacking. Quinn Michaels used to say that. When you can't hack the system, hack the user. He's talking about social engineering, tricking people. So I don't think Richard Lurie got tricked into doing this. I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and he participated in their scheme. And so now, George's brother is tasked with, making all these problems, of which I am one, go away. He's been so aggressive. This is really the most distasteful thing he's done so far. He's now sending letters to my parents, who are each over 80. And I'm not going to say they're in poor health, but they're not in excellent health, and the last thing they need is the constant stress of a fucking asshole sending them things in the mail all the time. It is harassment. But you see, because what's this guy trying to do? Don't come near me, man. He just trained his attention on me. Oh yeah, this was an area of radio congestion where problems definitely came about. Some of these new poles with these wires running across the street were creating significant radio problems, so perhaps this is a good spot for the test. Let's see what happens. If I get cut off, I'm not going to do anything to restore the broadcast. We're just going to leave it at that for now. Thanks, everyone. If you're not yet a sponsor, please become one by going to odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. You get access to a huge library of sponsor-exclusive content, and there's new content being added all the time. Something is burning. Whew. Smells terrible. But you're also helping to support independent journalism and crowdsource the truth. It's this welding or whatever they're doing here. Really constantly tearing up this area. Hopefully they'll be done pretty soon. But you know, this lawfare, it's very complicated, and they're doing it to a lot of people, not just me. Doug Mackey, we've heard a lot about him. That's the meme guy, Hillary Clinton memes, actually criminally convicted. Very, very bad what happened to him. And here we've got the Stewart Hotel with these motorcycles parked outside. This is another migrant, what the hell is going on kind of place. And what's going on with this black wrapped Tesla? The matte. Is that a gangster style car? By the way, we just made it through that radio interference area without getting knocked off. That's very good. Perhaps this new system is doing what I want it to do. I hope it is. It's nice when things do what they're supposed to do. Seems rare. So yeah, that's basically it. I mean, you know, I just want this lawfare to end. Can you please not ride the bicycle on the sidewalk?
Thank you. I'm doing my best to just...
Don't thank me. Just get it off the sidewalk, idiot. Thank you. Everybody's got a wise ass answer. Here's the cops doing nothing. That lady's not even in control of the bike, and she's riding it on the sidewalk, acting like it's some kind of, oh, woe is me. Get the bicycle off the sidewalk, stupid, and get your ass off the bicycle if you can't ride it. You're a danger to the public. What are these idiots doing in this police van? Texting, ordering pizza. Nothing. There's nobody in there at all. Ah, there we had a bit of interference, it looked like. But again, maybe this more robust system prevented it from... That's good. Look, don't get me wrong. Even just saying, I've got a more robust system, that's going to get them to want to bring out more robust interference, isn't it? But this is the cat and mouse game that we play. Yeah, so George's brother, he's been going crazy. He's now sending letters to my father telling him he's going to sue him. Is that sick or what? This guy is a sick, psychotic, stalking lunatic who should be arrested for what he's been doing for the last 8 years, stalking me relentlessly, harassing my parents, using the mail, abusing the courts to do that. It's absolutely terrible. You know, this is not just some internet beef where it's like, I disagree with this guy or that guy. George and his brother are criminals who should be locked in jail for the rest of their lives. Terrible people. And I see evidence that makes me think their father was involved in Operation Paperclip. We still don't know that much about Operation Paperclip. Exactly how many Nazi scientists were integrated into American society. You know, certainly the development of the full duplex radio telephone, that's right up there with the type of Nazi technology, jet engines, nuclear bomb. You know, it was determined by the U.S. government that these technologies are just too valuable to allow to possibly fall into the hands of the Soviets. So we need these Nazis to be integrated into American society, and we need to take their technology. Is that what happened with George Henry Swigert? I think so. It would explain all of the inexplicable questions, why he didn't get arrested for putting their brother Greg in the hospital, why he was such a psychopath, punching his own psychopath son in the face every day, why his sons appear to be working in the intelligence community. All of this would be consistent with somebody who had an intelligence background through Operation Paperclip. Them just randomly wanting to sue me and now my father for 8 years makes no sense. Says another weed store put out of business by the sheriffs. What are they doing? Jump-starting cars? The police are so stupid. Well, maybe they're searching this guy's car for weed. It's the traffic cops. No, they're just towing it. Total idiots. All right, well, anyway, that was a good test of the more resilient system. I'm going to have to definitely take it down by the courthouse to that spot where it was disconnecting consistently and see if this new system can resist that. It will be excellent if it can. We'll just keep testing. But anyway, yeah, this is a big investment in the show. I appreciate everybody who's been watching for many years. I super appreciate everybody who sponsors the show. Couldn't do all this stuff without you guys. So if you're not a sponsor, please become one. Go to odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. That's the most economical way to sponsor the show. For as little as $3 per month, you're going to get access to the sponsor exclusive content, even if you just subscribe on Odyssey for free. Even if you don't become a member, you're getting access to the largest library of Crowdsource the Truth content on the internet. You're supporting Odyssey, independent technology company, alternative to YouTube, alternative to all these other things. Please get on there and sponsor the show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. Down with